You're watching Cartell TV and I'm Simone. Now, have you subscribed to our channel yet? Make sure you do, and make sure you hit that notification button so that you know every time we upload a new video. Yeah, it's a Porsche and it's an SUV and it's a hybrid. You might need to get over it. I thought that by 2020, people would accept the fact that Porsche now also has these kinds of vehicles. But there are still some purists, like maybe yourself, out there to complain.
That's not a real Porsche.
Your predecessors also complained in the same way about using a turbo, and then about moving away from air-cooled engines.
You've got to be joking, that's not a real Porsche.
Guess what? It is! It's a real Porsche, so you're going to have to get over it. And you should know that the Cayenne saved the company almost 2 decades ago, and is one of the main reasons that we have the lovely 911s nowadays. And you know what? I'm guessing that the naysayers have never even driven a machine like this before. And you know how I know? Because if they had, they wouldn't complain so much. This is the 2020 Porsche Cayenne E-Hybrid, the second of 5 trims and the lesser of 2 hybrids on offer. Now, don't be put off by lesser. This is actually one hell of an impressive SUV. I can only imagine how awesome the top 2 trims are, but I'll get to that later. Design-wise, it's unmistakably a Cayenne, which also means not really beautiful for most people. I actually like the exterior design of the Cayenne, so I think it's nice. If you want more in that respect, there is a coupe version of the Cayenne, but that one limits the boot space and the rear headroom. The front is unmistakably a Porsche, with its recognisable grille and headlights. It's not always easy to translate the design of a sports car to an SUV, but they managed to do this with ease. The side reveals a nice silhouette that has followed this car since the first generation. It's a bit strange, but I really like it. This rear spoiler really contributes to the sporty styling. The rear is rather minimalistic and stylish. The thin headlights are a bit of a departure from the previous generations, but in the best way possible. Combined with this strip that holds the Porsche name, it just looks awesome. Now, I need to get one point out in the open. This is a hybrid and one with a lesser engine, but it is a performance vehicle. It really is. For example, this Cayenne reaches 100 in 5 seconds, according to Porsche. Now, I say according to Porsche because Porsche is famous for being conservative with their acceleration figures. Apparently, they add a bit more so that you will get at least the advertised acceleration times, with the potential for a bit more. Even if not, 5 seconds to 100 in the second lowest trim is very good. Now, let me tell you about all the powering options in the 2020 Cayenne. First of all, there's no diesel option anymore. And I was a bit sorry to hear that. The base model is simply called Cayenne, and it comes with a 3-litre V6 twin-scroll turbo. It has 250 kilowatts of power and 450 newton meters of torque, which translates to the top speed of 245 kilometers per hour and a sprint to 100 that lasts 5.9 seconds. Officially, it consumes 9.2 litres per 100 kilometers. The E-Hybrid that I have here uses the same engine and adds an electric motor, for the total power figures of 340 kilowatts and a massive 700 newton meters of torque. The top speed in EV mode only is 135 kilometers per hour, while with full power available, it can sprint up to 253 kilometers per hour. This means that you can drive at motorway speeds on electric power only. It also sprints to 100 in just 5 seconds. Official fuel consumption is 3.4 litres per 100 kilometres. But we'll talk more about that later. The S has a V6 2.9-litre bi-turbo with 324 kilowatts and 550 newton meters of torque, enough for 265 kilometers per hour and a sprint to 100 in 4.9 seconds. The official consumption is 9.4 litres per 100 kilometres. The weirdly called turbo, keeping in mind that they're all turbocharged, is next, and it has a 4-litre bi-turbo for 404 kilowatts and 770 newton meters of torque. The top speed is 286 kilometers per hour and acceleration to 100 takes 3.9 seconds. On average, the Cayenne with this engine consumes 11.9 litres per 100 kilometres. Lastly, the top dog combines all of it in the form of the Turbo S E-Hybrid. The 4-litre V8 and the electric motor combined give 500 kilowatts and 900 newton meters of torque, enough for the top speed of 295 kilometers per hour and the acceleration of 3.8 seconds. And a pretty unlikely fuel consumption of 4.4 litres per 100 kilometres. And all of them are paired with an 8-speed automatic. The startup is always in e-power mode. Full EV mode gives a safe, real-world 30 kilometres with a potential for up to the advertised 44 kilometres, depending on conditions and your driving style. Still, talking about the driving style, there aren't many options in the pure EV mode. You have to drive peacefully, press the pedal hard and the engine kicks in instantly. Fuel consumption is a very different story. As I said, this version officially consumes 3.4 litres per 100 kilometres.
In reality, you'll swing between 0 while in pure EV mode and double digits when the engine kicks in.
Cruising at a constant speed reduces consumption significantly, but any increases in speed will easily take you past 10 litres per 100 kilometres.
So, your fuel consumption will depend on how often you can drive in pure EV mode in general.
If you have significantly more than 30 kilometres of driving a day, or if you push the pedal a bit harder, I wouldn't expect anywhere near the advertised 3.4 litres.
Anywhere near. However, for most people and their daily errands, pure EV may actually be most of the time. So, if you tried, you could even improve on that advertised figure.
The hybrids also have the benefit of instant torque. Even though the power in pure EV is a lot lower, it kicks in instantly with all 400 Newton meters of torque.
When both the engine and the motor are running, the response is stunning, both in terms of the power of the push and how immediate it is. It really is a joy to drive.
Anyone who has ever driven any Cayenne will tell you it handles more like a car than an SUV.
Sure, you can't beat physics, but you can beat most of the competitors, and that's exactly what this latest Cayenne does in terms of handling.
The Cayenne feels incredibly composed in bends, very predictable with next to no body roll. This feels like a Porsche. Sure, it's no 911 or Cayman, but being driven in one on a twisty road with my eyes shut, I don't think I'd even guess I was in an SUV.
It is really good, and a big part of why is Porsche dynamic chassis control with electromechanically actuated anti-roll bars with a pivot motor in between the two halves.
Aside from varying resistance and thus improving body control, this is also very useful for lighter off-roading.
However, don't mistake the Cayenne for a proper off-roader. That is not what it's made for.
Wading depth of the standard Cayenne is 500mm, while the hybrids are at half that. Also, variable dampers are very useful on a car like this.
You can enjoy more comfort than the state of our roads would suggest, but you can also firm up the ride and have more fun on a twisty road than the body style would suggest.
The steering is precise and it gives great feedback. Also, the gearbox is a proper automatic, not a PDK, which may sound like a downside for the ultimately sporty among you, but it actually suits this car perfectly. It has 8 gears and it's the wonderful ZF 8HP unit that we know and love from so many awesome cars.
Now, if you don't know about it, it's currently our favourite automatic here at CarTell.tv, and we've tested it in many different vehicles with hugely different engines.
Its shifts are smooth and fast, almost seamless, and they're timed perfectly in all driving conditions. Basically, driving the Cayenne, you will rarely, if ever, feel that it's in a wrong gear. Should that still happen, you have these paddle shifters to shift manually.
Let me show you another awesome feature. It has this sport response button on the steering wheel.
And when you press it, you have 20 seconds to use all the power that this car has.
This should be used for overtaking something long or scaring certain passengers.
Other than this, there are 4 modes you can drive in: Sport, Sport Plus, E-Power and Hybrid. The Hybrid mode has Hybrid, E-Charge and E-Hold functions, the latter keeping the juice in the battery for when you need it.
It may sound like a gimmick, but think of it this way. Electric cars are more efficient in the city thanks to regen braking.
So, you're out on a motorway at a constant speed and the car is very efficient thanks to its clever systems and the 8-speed gearbox.
You don't want to waste a lot of electric power for that, especially when you know you'll be driving through the city once you get off the motorway.
So, use the E-Hold feature while on the motorway and it'll keep the battery charged for when you get into the city, where you can literally spend no fuel.
That is just awesome, and it's also a way to get closer to the advertised consumption figure.
Now, with all the benefits of the motor in terms of performance, this car is amazing with its 340 kilowatts of combined power.
Can you imagine how awesome the top version is with 500 kilowatts and the same electric help?
Let's be honest, even in some of the most amazing vehicles that Porsche has made throughout history, interiors were not the most stylish parts.
Interior styling has been evolving since the first Cayenne, and I have to say I love this one, which is something I couldn't say for the first generation.
As expected, the fit and finish are awesome, but it also looks very upmarket, airy and, finally, very well thought out.
Materials are awesome, everything is soft touch, and ergonomics, well, this is something that wasn't a problem in any Porsche.
I don't think anyone will struggle to find a good driving position. The upright dashboard is pretty sporty and the central console is very wide, just like on some much sportier current models from the same manufacturer.
It's a luxury SUV, but it still gives the feel of a performance car.
The screen is very responsive and highly customizable.
I love that it has loads of shortcuts on the panel in front of the gear selector.
In many modern Porsche models, you'll see loads of buttons that may look too complicated, but I think having so many shortcuts actually makes things a lot easier after a very short time.
Just think about it. Instead of tinkering with a touchscreen, all you have to do is press one button. This position will be familiar in a few days.
It's been used on most Porsche models, and there's a reason for that. It works. Oh, and it also comes with Apple CarPlay, but no Android Auto.
Jump in the back and you get loads of leg, foot and headroom. And speaking of headroom, check out this optional panoramic sunroof.
The second row splits 40-20-40, folds, reclines and slides for a compromise between cargo space and comfort. Even in the most forward position, there's enough space for an adult, and this is just great.
2 people in the back will have a premium experience, and even 3 will be reasonably comfortable despite this tunnel in the floor.
The boot is smaller than in the non-hybrid version, but it's still pretty big. The standard version has 770 litres of space with the seats up and 1,710 litres when they're folded. The hybrids get 645 litres and 1,610 litres with the seats folded.
Bear in mind that despite the huge size, the tailgate is angled, so really big items might prevent the boot from closing. Also on this model, we have the self-closing boot.
And Porsche's fixed key version of push-button start.
But to add the proximity key feature, which Porsche calls comfort access, will cost you $2,400, which kind of makes me feel uncomfortable.
Almost all of the safety features are standard across the range. You get the active bonnet system, remote central locking, side impact protection, rollover detection, seatbelt pretensioners and force limiters, warn and brake assist, keyless start, mirrors with parking assistance with curb view, front and rear parking sensors, rear view camera, surround view, lane change assist, active lane keep assist, intersection assist, automatic brake differential, anti-slip regulation, hill descent control with speeds from 3 to 30 km per hour, traffic sign recognition, adaptive cruise control with speed limiter, head-up display and night vision assist.
If you haven't noticed so far, I love this car. It's just awesome. However, there is one thing that I don't like.
Even though it's packed with features, some things that are industry standard right now are optional features here, just like the proximity keys. Oh, and another good example, heated seats cost $990.
Okay, not many people will miss those in Australia, especially with the 40-degree heat we've had this week. But still not convinced?
Leather interior is also a feature you have to pay for. In a luxury SUV, please.
So, after mentioning all that, you're probably now ready to hear the prices.
The standard E-Hybrid costs $135,600, while with the options fitted to this one, it adds up to $144,910. And a Turbo Cayenne S E-Hybrid will set you back over $300,000. That is not cheap.
But then again, no Porsche is. If you can afford it, you won't go wrong with this Cayenne.
It's a spacious, luxurious, extremely high-quality modern SUV that drives like no other, and all that in a very sporty and reasonably efficient package.
And if you are very careful, you may also reach that fuel economy figure. Thanks for watching Cartel TV. Now, you may have noticed that as our shoot went on, the smoke became more and more obvious, and this is due to the surrounding bushfires. So this is a stark reminder of the very severe conditions that we're experiencing in Australia at the moment. So we at Cartel TV are thinking of all of those who are impacted by these devastating bushfires, and we'd like to thank all of those who are out there risking their lives to keep us all safe. So take care everyone, and we'll see you at our next review.